Ever since I needed a wheelchair, my wife has been so rude to me. She's been pushing me around and talking behind my back. Today, I'm going to recap a 2008 action crime film called Bronson. The film commences by painting a picture of 1950s England, where a boy named Michael Peterson is born into an affluent household. Despite being raised in a learned family, Michael's conduct was far from admirable. At the tender age of 13, he starts engaging in destructive behaviors, including physical altercations, thefts, and even assaulting his teacher. As he matured, Michael led an ordinary life, working at a local restaurant. However, his meager earnings led him to pilfer from the restaurant's cash register. Subsequently, 2 police officers visited his residence and were led to Michael by his mother. When questioned by the officers, Michael displayed his disdain by physically assaulting them. The narrative then transitions to 1974, a period in which Michael is now a husband and father. Despite his reputation for aggression, he never inflicted harm upon his wife, showing more patience than before. Conversely, his ambition of achieving fame was hindered by his lack of skill and talent. This frustration drove him to rob a nearby post office using a toy gun, from which he obtained 52 pounds. As a consequence of his actions, he was sentenced to a 7-year imprisonment term. On learning of his sentence, his wife promptly divorced him at the police station on his initial day of incarceration. Michael, however, remained indifferent to his wife's decision. During the early days of his sentence, he found prison life surprisingly comfortable, likening the facilities to a luxury hotel. But eventually, he became discontented. Craving attention and yearning for conflict, Michael instigated new troubles by assaulting several prison guards during their shifts. This led to an additional 7-year sentence, extending his time behind bars to 14 years. Nevertheless, his notoriety grew with each incident, earning the admiration of his peers who cheered him on with every violent act. In essence, he gained such infamy that he was constantly moved between prisons. Michael was transferred to a staggering total of 120 different facilities, as none could withstand his brutal behavior. Ultimately, the prison authorities committed Michael to a mental institution due to his inability to control his emotions. The narrative then shifts to Michael, deeply saddened by the atmosphere of the mental institution. He found the place torturous, devoid of the cheers and support he used to receive in prison whenever he committed a crime. The situation was further aggravated by the nurse's unsympathetic approach, promptly administering a sedative to prevent any resistance. The nurse employed a medication known as chlorpromazine, a type of sedative typically used to manage psychosis disorders and curb aggressive behavior, thereby enhancing a patient's cognitive clarity. This facilitated the easy control of patient behavior. Over the years, the nurse continued to administer this drug to Michael, reflecting his mental condition. Consequently, his behavior was significantly altered, rendering him practically mute and bedridden. After some time, the nursing staff believed they had successfully managed Michael's emotional volatility, resulting in a reduction of the sedative dosage. Seizing this as an opportunity, Michael began formulating a strategy to escape. He murdered one of the patients who frequently berated him, hoping this would land him back in the familiarity of a prison cell. Michael's wish materialized. Once back in prison, he was confined to solitary detention, forced to endure a 26-year sentence in isolation from his peers. This predicament frustrated him, propelling him to contemplate an effective escape strategy. He subsequently initiated a riot, vandalizing prison property. His actions prompted heightened security measures from the prison authorities, necessitating the deployment of a specialized emergency response team. Moreover, due to the extensive damage resulting from his actions, Michael was denied entry into every prison across England. The narrative then shifts to Michael's growing fame, culminating in Queen Elizabeth, the reigning monarch of England, consenting to his parole. Upon his release, his mother comes to pick him up. However, upon arriving home, Michael is bewildered to find most of his belongings missing from his room. His mother explains that their current accommodations didn't have the capacity to house all his possessions, leaving them behind at their previous residence. After spending a few days with his mother, Michael decides to move in with his uncle, who operates a prostitution business. There, he becomes acquainted with several women working for his uncle. One day he visits Paul, a friend and fellow ex-convict who admires his fighting skills. Paul proposes that Michael become an underground fighter, a role that would require him to compete against opponents for substantial monetary rewards. To enhance his public recognition, Paul suggests that he adopt the moniker of Charles Bronson, a well-known American actor celebrated for his captivating action sequences. Michael agrees to Paul's proposition. The scene transitions to Michael, now known as Bronson, as he begins his first match. His advantageous physique enables him to easily overpower his opponents, leading him to victory in every fight. Even one of his competitors was willing to pay to witness Bronson combat ferocious dogs. Meanwhile, Bronson develops romantic feelings for one of his uncle's employees, a woman working in the prostitution business. With the intention to propose to her, Bronson steals an expensive ring from a jewelry store. However, the woman vehemently declined his proposal as she was already committed to another man, who was set to become her husband. Following this episode, Bronson was arrested and once again incarcerated. It was recorded that he had only managed to live a regular life outside the prison walls for a mere 69 days. Initially, upon his return to prison, Bronson appeared to be coping well. However, within a month, his combative tendencies resurfaced. He proceeded to take a prison guard hostage, who was tasked with delivering books to his cell, and locked him in with him. When the prison authority became aware of this and reached out to Bronson, he questioned what they could offer to deter him from further criminal acts. Subsequently, Bronson came up with a bizarre plan. He stripped himself naked and asked the prison guard within the cell to cover his entire body with butter. His intention was to make it difficult for the prison guards to apprehend him during an escape attempt. However, his plan failed. The guards violently subdued him, leaving his face and body bruised and swollen. Despite this, Bronson persevered in his resistance, believing that it was the only way to command respect. In contrast to his previous prisons, this facility offered art training, particularly painting, to Bronson and other inmates. This provided a platform for them not only hone their artistic skills, but also express their experiences in prison. Surprisingly, Bronson demonstrated a remarkable talent for painting, producing beautiful artworks that earned him the admiration of his art tutor. Encouraged by the recognition and compliments he received, Bronson dedicated most of his time to painting, exhibiting less disruptive behavior. Consequently, his tutor promised to showcase his best works to the prison superintendent and governor. However, when Bronson had his meeting with the prison head, accompanied by his tutor, he was met with apathy. The prison head showed little interest in the artwork, but acknowledged Bronson's progress and encouraged him to maintain his positive changes. Despite Bronson's efforts to adopt a more positive and constructive approach, he consistently received disheartening feedback. He concluded that if he sought acknowledgement, he would have to resort to his previously brutal behavior. The narrative then depicts Bronson taking his art tutor hostage, coating his body with black paint, and summoning the prison warden for a duel. The story concludes by presenting a brief profile of Michael Peterson, also known as Charles Bronson. To this day, Bronson remains in custody, serving a life sentence. If you enjoyed this video, don't be shy and hit the like button. And if you disliked it, hit the dislike button twice, just to be sure. It would be best if you watched the whole movie. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe for more videos like this.